Okay, so the first one was practice. I should get this better. Okay, it's now 7:01 PM, and I'm calling the Hamilton Planning Board meeting to order, the July 21st, 2026 meeting. The meeting is being recorded by HW Cam, and I'll begin by taking rolls. So when I call your name, would you please indicate that you're present? Jonathan Poor,
Jonathan Poor, present.
Emil Dahlquist,
Emil Dahlquist, present.
Darcy Dale,
Darcy Dale, present.
Matt
Matt Hamill, present.
Jeff Austin,
Jeff Austin, present.
and Valerie Peck.
Valerie Peck, present.
Welcome, Valerie. This is her first meeting as an official associate
Am I
member.
working this right? Hey, thank
And
you.
Marty Crouch present, and perhaps Bill will be joining us in a few minutes, and Beth Hurd did indicate that she was unable to attend. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Is there any discussion about the minutes?
Did you get my email, Marnie, earlier?
Oh, I'm sorry, I did not.
Oh, okay, so on June 2nd, page 1, last paragraph, second line, the word issues should be past tense, issued.
June 2nd. Oh,
Page 1.
Issued,
Yep,
I got it.
last paragraph, second line.
Uh-huh,
And then page 2, first paragraph, second line, remove the word the.
okay.
And then on June 16th, when you're ready,
Yes,
page 2, code versus code, uppercase versus lowercase, they're using both, and I think they need consistency. That's in the first paragraph. Page 2, number 3, under vote, the voted unanimously. I think they meant to say the board voted unanimously.
Oh.
And that's it for me.
I had a number of minor corrections. I believe at one point we noted that the planning board elects members with 2 or 3 seats up for election each year, not 1. That's on the June 16th set of minutes. I removed a paragraph, a comma rather, from the first paragraph under item 2, and I replaced since with because in the second paragraph from the bottom. These are minor. And where you said the board unanimously by a roll call vote, board unanimously by roll call vote voted, here's another error, voted to approve Valerie Peck to serve an associate planning board member position and to recommend her, so I deleted her. There was a typo there. And then on the June 2nd minutes, I had just a few minor stylistic changes, and I can give these to Mark, and we can then vote to approve the minutes with the proposed edits, if that's acceptable. So, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes from June 2nd and 2026 and June 16th, 2026 with the corrections that were discussed.
And no one else has any corrections? So do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's unanimous. Okay, the next item that we have on our agenda is a hearing on the application of Tyler and Megan Swaim to disturb an existing stone wall along Asbury Street, which is a designated scenic road, in order to install a driveway curb cut at their property at 180 Asbury Street. So do I have a representative to speak to this issue?
Yes, I would like to speak with Marty. Is that,
Sure.
would you like me to stand up here?
Yes, please, and identify yourself for the record.
I'm Megan Swaim of 180 Asbury Street. Thank
Could
you.
I just interrupt you
Of
for
course.
1 minute? Mark, I think it might be appropriate for you to read the notice of the public hearing for the record before we really get into the merits here.
Sure.
If you don't have it handy, I do.
Okay. Scenic road hearing, the Hamilton Planning Board will hold a public hearing pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 15C, on July 21st, 2026 at 7 p.m. at the Hamilton Wenham Library, 14 Union Street. The applicants, Tyler and Megan Swain, propose to disturb an existing stone wall along Asbury Street, a designated scenic road, in order to install a second driveway curb cut serving their residential property at 180 Asbury Street, Assessors Map 55, Lot 286, owned by the Swain Family Revocable Trust, Revocable 2024 Trust, and Zone R1A. The application materials are on file with the Plan Department for review in person or electronically by contacting the Plan Department.
Great.
Now
Thank you,
the-
Mark.
Now the floor
Okay,
is
of
yours.
course. Well, thank you for considering our request to modify this portion of our existing stone wall and to add a second curb cut to improve the safety of entering and exiting our driveway. Our request is based off of one primary concern, and that is safety. As our driveway is currently configured, visibility when exiting Asbury Street is severely limited. Drivers and pedestrians have restricted sight lines to ongoing traffic, making it difficult to safely determine when it's appropriate to pull out or cross the road. This section of Asbury Street is a sharp hairpin turn, as you all are probably aware of, that has long been recognized as a hairy location. The traffic study presented to the town during last year's school project documented vehicles traveling above the 30 miles per hour speed limit on this stretch. And neighbors, one of which is here tonight, have lived here for decades, have shared that numerous accidents have occurred at this curb. And our own experience confirms that the current driveway configuration that we have presents a real and ongoing safety risk. When we purchased our home in 2020, we chose to raise our family here. We have a 2.5-year-old son and a 4.5-year-old daughter because of the community's walkability, our excellent schools. I am a public school teacher. I worked for a small stint of time at Cutler, so have made that short walk myself across the street, and accessibility to downtown. We want our children to be able to safely walk, ride their bikes, scooters, and participate in community activities. And under the current conditions, however, safely entering and exiting, whether by foot, stroller, bicycle, or car, is a significant challenge. So the proposed second curve cut is a safety improvement and not purely convenience, and it would provide the sight lines needed to safely see approaching traffic from both directions before entering the roadway, significantly reducing the risk of collisions while preserving the character of our property and the scenic road. The current configuration also creates an accessibility concern under ADA, and without a second curb cut, there's no accessible route for pedestrians using strollers, wheelchairs, or other mobility devices. Crossing safely requires relying on both sight and hearing to detect approaching vehicles and judge their speed, creating unnecessary risks for families and individuals with mobility challenges, which is a big concern of mine as a mother, as a special educator, and a member of this community. We value the existing stone wall that was beautifully constructed by the former owner of our property, as it contributes to both our property and the scenic road that Asbury Street is. Our proposal is limited to the minimum modification necessary to improve the safety while preserving the wall's appearance and the roadway's character. We are also committed to working collaboratively with the town and the planning board to minimize any environmental impacts, including responsible stormwater management and et cetera. So we respectfully ask that the board consider our request to this modest change to address a documented safety concern to improve accessibility, which will help ensure that our family visitors and others using Asbury Street can cross more safely.
Are there any other members who wish to speak to this application? Any members?
I have a couple questions.
Certainly, go ahead.
So I totally understand safety is a primary concern. And is this proposal designed to prevent having to back out? Or is the proposal to change the sight lines when you come out frontwards at the curb cut?
both, because if you back out, and even if you come out forward-facing, you have a very, I wish there was, I actually have a photo on my phone. If you're looking from the end of our driveway out to traffic oncoming from the right, from 1A, you have seconds to see before that traffic comes out. So it is addressing coming out forward.
So is it the trees that create the sightline issue, or the a few feet further around the bend?
It's the curve.
It's the turn.
It's the actual curve across the street.
Okay.
So you're not planning on altering the driveway configuration at all?
The current one is going to be staying exactly as it is. There'd be no additional curb cut to the current driveway that's in place.
This new driveway would start about, maybe, I'm using a rough gauge here, about 20 feet in from the actual road. And then it starts
When
to
I said driveway alignment, that's what I meant. You're going to have a looping that goes around the house, on the back,
in front of the farmer's porch right there.
on the front of the, in front of the porch.
Just in front, yes. Yeah, I do have that map.
It's a semicircle.
Semicircle right in front of
Okay. And
porch.
the stone wall is not a historic old stone wall. You say it was put in place by the previous owners?
Correct.
Correct. The
Yeah.
previous driveway actually started exactly where the curb cut is we were proposing to put in. The driveway was previously on the left side of the house. When the previous owner chose to, it was shifted to the right side in the stone.
And then they fixed in the stone wall.
Yeah, and they put the stone wall, which, it's like half of the stone wall is on our property and half of it is on that town property.
Am I correct that you intend to essentially reuse the portion of wall that will be dismantled, or to the extent you can?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Our hope would be, I should say, our plan is to fill in where we can in that gap between where that pine tree is. Additionally, where we would open up, we would like to carry the stones coming inwards towards the farmer's porch and use all the stones that way too. So we create basically a 90-degree L and be aesthetically pleasing, but also be able to add to the vegetation around it.
So does the new,
Announce your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Tyler Swaim. I am Megan's husband.
Jonathan, you want to?
Yep. So does the new curb cut solve the sight lines in both directions, or just in the right-hand direction?
It solves in both directions
Both
because from that location of where we would be standing of the exit through the stone wall, you would be able to see both sides clearly.
Currently, you can see traffic coming from Highland, right, exiting our driveway currently, to the left.
From the Cutler School direction.
Cutler School, right? It's the right. Now, this is not just for our family, crossing back on the street is, we don't cross at our driveway because it's not safe. We cross at our neighbor's driveway because you can't see either sightline.
Yeah, I actually drove by your house on my way here.
Yeah.
And I was surprised at how, even just driving, you don't have a sight line, just even driving around that corner. And so I think probably what happened was the original driveway was in the right location, and the second owner, or the next owner, decided to move it. But it sounds like you have good sight lines in that new location you're thinking of?
To exit
Yep.
from our home, yes.
You're not planning on doing any ADUs or anything like that, or any kind of?
No, it's
We
just
enjoy our
our
large
area.
backyard.
Yes.
Well, and that's why the previous owner, I think, moved
Yep.
the location of the driveways. We have a private backyard. I was going to say something.
I also drove by the property, and I was interested to see if there were any other stone walls on Asbury in that area, and there is one right across the street, but it isn't the case that there are stone walls all along Asbury Street. There are not. There are fences, there's shrubbery, and there's just plain, simple front yards without any real distinctive landscaping. So I don't think this is a circumstance where you would have, 100 yards of stone wall lining both sides of the roads, just for those planning board members who might not have driven by the house.
I will say that stone wall is a huge safety barrier for our home. Unfortunately, we moved in our home in 2020. We have seen one accident of somebody coming way too fast from Highland towards 1A, flipping over onto our neighbor's yard. And it's those stone walls that there is an element of safety. So it is,
I can attest that that is a dangerous spot. My son was on the fire department, and I can recall at least 3 accidents since I've lived here, at least 3.
Right here if you want it.
So,
It's often in the winter, unfortunately,
Yeah.
when the roads are slippery and individuals are coming from the Cutler direction going towards downtown, and the turn comes up quickly, and it's slippery, and they end up on the lawn right in front of the stone wall.
Jonathan, you finished?
I have some comments, but I'd like to hear from the rest of the board first.
I have a few questions. On your sketch that you drew for the, you show a very wide driveway. And it looks in the picture like it's more like a 10, 11-foot driveway. So the question is, where's the property line in relation to your paved driveway? Is it 5 feet off the driveway? Is it 10?
The property line is directly on the edge of the driveway currently. That's where the existing driveway was.
So you got 23.3 feet to the property line to the building, right? I don't know, Mark, can you pull up the straight-on elevation of the? I'm just curious, because your driveway's 10 feet, right?
So just to confirm, what part of the driveway are you referencing is 23 feet wide?
If you see on a drawing
It's
where
long.
the widest part of the building is.
Yep.
Nearest to Asbury, there's a number, 23.3. That is the footage between your property line and the nearest.
There's no guidance.
Yep.
So I'm just questioning,
Zero
because the graphic you drew there is a lot wider than 10 feet.
I welcome you to come by. It is not 23-foot wide driveway.
I wonder if you could go back to the elevation.
Yeah, my graphic, to be honest, that was a plot plan.
Your property line is right on the driveway.
Correct. There is, that is, to be clear, that is a plot plan that was done back in 2020, 2021, when we built the garage. I drew the graphic there to give a gauge as to where we were trying to position the actual curb, the new existing versus the old, or the new driveway turn versus the existing driveway.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
so perhaps not this.
The next item would like to ask about is I know it's easy when you just do a hand sketch to kind of lose sense of scale. I noticed, it looked at the code. The code has a driveway dimension in it that says a minimum of 60 feet to the center line as a radius. That's got to be a mistake in there, but to me anyway. That's 6.2.2 standards. Item 2 is a center line radius of at least 60 feet in the driveway curves. So I fully appreciate what you're saying, all of this, and I agree with the safety issue. I'm just trying to figure out how to reconcile this and think, is that the only option you have?
Sure.
To
And
do it.
we're open to
Because
conversation.
I noticed that your
collaboration.
house from your property line is set back 33.2 feet from the property line. I assume that stone wall is the property line? Do you know that?
It is, yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So if you have a 60-foot radius, just simply wouldn't work in there.
So, yeah, perhaps we
so
need to get some
I think
updated numbers.
I think 30 feet probably is more realistic as a maximum, my guess.
Yeah, I have a few comments here. So, you can do a 30-foot radius, but that's locking the wheels.
Yeah.
So, just anecdotally, I'm just going to start with, I've been doing site design for about 40 years, and I've taken out probably nearly 100 of this type of driveway because people said they didn't work. And the reason they didn't work is because the radius was too tight. When you put one car in the driveway, it's blocked. Then you're backing out around a locked turning radius. You're trying to lock your wheel back out safely. And it also uses the maximum amount of paving and curb cuts for the least amount of benefit. I worked for a fellow for Fidelity fellow who's a numbers guy, and he made me calculate the benefits using numbers of square footage of K driveway versus circular driveway, and the difference in amount of paving versus benefit was colossal. So that's why most folks have taken these out. I think you have a very large lot. You have a pretty good a number of good opportunities to turn around in the backyard. So I think you should be able to come out forward, and now the issue is just as you're coming out forward, what are the sight lines? I didn't pull into your driveway to look at the sight lines, but it looks like, it's solvable depending upon where the curb cut is, and maybe you might consider, I don't see where the pine trees are there. Can you just shift the curb cut to come to the right of the pine trees and have a single curb cut and avoid the tight radius? It's also going to use up a lot of your you have a beautiful, beautiful house with beautiful grounds. And this gives all of that frontage over to paving. So it really decreases, in my opinion, the curb cut appeal, the curb appeal of your house, which is, again, a very beautiful house. And so, as Emil said, I think there's other options that you might look at here that would be actually safer, more practical, less costly, and less disruptive. I haven't put enough analysis into it, but it looks to me like there's a lot of other options other than this.
Yeah, I agree 100% with what you're saying. I think, in my experience too, is that it's an unworkable thing you're trying to do there, that you're going to regret it. And it is going to occupy a huge, essentially your whole front yard as paved area, just from an aesthetic. I know there's that safety issue, but and the sight line is a dilemma. But I think there is something you can do in the front yard there that doesn't occupy the whole thing and provide you with, so that you could go out of the driveway going forward all the time.
Well, I guess that's coming forward out of the driveway, it's still, you have to be somebody who's, not noticing, taking calculation, hearing all sounds, is not going to be able to safely exit. That's in that area.
What I'm suggesting is that you might move the curb cut, but have one curb cut and forego the tight circular driveway. It's the tight circular driveway that really, it has so many disadvantages and very few advantages for any property unless you're on a 20-acre estate. Because that's the throwback. It's a carriage house, carriage design for large estates and chateaus. That's where it came from England.
I'm sorry,
and
which
it doesn't fit
direction
in
has the
postage
sight line
stamps.
impediment?
If you are coming out of the driveway, it is to your left.
Can you spin that way, Mark?
Sorry, the other way. I'm sorry, I was mentioning if you're backing out of the driveway.
Right there.
Yeah, right there, yep.
So
This is convex. It's like a bowl as you come out in front of the house. So that increases your ability to see in either direction, as opposed to being concave like this, where you can't see what's coming around the corner. So, I mean, it's sort of like defies the laws of visibility. You actually have pretty good sight line relative to a straight line or into a concave line, but
I'm looking at your front property line is 275 feet, so that's from your driveway all the way to the end of the wall. You have more than 200 feet there. Now, it's not perfect, but you really have a problem there with.
Yeah, so I'll use an example.
I would certainly ask the town, not engineer, I guess, or the building official, but about sight lines on that. What is acceptable, as a sight line?
Sure.
But I'm surprised that traffic must be coming pretty quickly.
They do.
Very fast.
Unfortunately, I went head-to-head with an 18-wheeler coming at me the other day as I was backing out, and it was a little testy.
There might be other solutions, and so we appreciate your background and insight.
Yeah, and again, I would separate the issues of backing out from sight lines.
Oh, absolutely.
So I truly agree, you need to solve the problem of backing out. If you back out, it is unsafe.
that's a terrible way to get out of any driveway.
But it looks as though your driveway has enough flexibility for you to turn around and come forward.
Yes.
So that's issue one. And then issue two is what specifically are the sight lines and what are the limits to the sight lines? For example, another thing that you could look at is, I don't know whose thicket that is across the street, but oftentimes when you negotiate with a neighbor and say, hey, for safety, I just did it last weekend, I have to prune my neighbor's thicket in order to get out of my driveway safely. But I negotiate it and I do it, and it makes it safe for me. Otherwise, I have the same issue. But the limit to me isn't where my curb cut is, it's the thicket across the street. So just as this is. So you can always figure out what the limit is, and I don't, without standing there and citing it, I can't tell, but it looks as though it's vegetation across the street. And that's manipulatable, with discussion and negotiation. So there's another potential solution.
Jonathan, when you suggested moving the curb cut, what
To
were
the
you?
other side of the trees. If that solves it, doesn't look like it solves it. It looks like it's the vegetation across the street that limits it, but without analyzing it closely, it's hard to say.
I guess the question would be is if they had to move the curb cut on the other side of the trees and potentially remove those trees, they're going to be right back here with another scenic road issue, if that's something that had to happen due to space
It looks as
constraints.
though the existing curb cut, again, without seeing more information, it looks as though the existing curb cut has adequate sight lines if the obstructions
have
on
to
the other
back
side
out.
of the street, and if you don't have to back out.
I guess I'd be curious, who would we speak to about understanding adequate sightlines?
Well,
I'm a mother of 2 young children. To me, it doesn't seem adequate.
DPW would be a start.
DPW, absolutely.
Also, the police department, doesn't they have to
Safety
sign off
officer.
on
Be the
sightlines?
safety
They have to
officer.
look at this.
Yeah, they usually look at it, the
Yeah.
police department.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And fire safety, or safety department, fire and police.
I don't know, sometimes you see there'll be a mirror that you can look at to see oncoming traffic. I don't know that would
share
work.
that, Marnie, at one point. We've been in our home now for 6 years and have been kind of problem-solving this situation for the past 6 years. One of those solutions has been, we've put a very large mirror that's not currently there for the past, I think that was one of our first solutions. It's still quite challenging.
Well,
Here's
the other
It's right
comment,
there in the
though,
picture.
I have
There's our
to,
mirror, yeah.
I have to agree with Jonathan, your house is beautiful, and basically, at least from this schematic, you're gonna be putting concrete in the front of it, and I think that, to his point, you might regret that, because it will lose its context a little bit. I mean, there'll be very few plantings that you can employ that would minimize the effect of that, because the distance between the stone wall and your house is just not that great.
So can I just confirm that the committee is stating that because we are a scenic road under Massachusetts statute, I forget the number, that it doesn't sound like a recommendation is.
I'm not sure that's exactly.
It's more
what-
from a,
I think
more
what
from a
we are
planning and
urging you to do is
Yeah.
try and think of maybe some alternatives.
Other options,
Because it looks to me like behind your garage, if you extended pavement, you might be able to turn around so you are always coming out. You're never backing out.
We do. We've made sure that we always come out forward. But again, I'm just stating. So I guess it would be following up with DPW, perhaps fire safety, to understand visibility
Yeah.
a little bit more.
It's not that, I don't think it's that we object to what you're doing.
Yeah,
We're just raising issues that, from our experience,
absolutely.
we want you to solve the problem, not create more problems.
Well,
Yeah,
you don't want
have
to
you-
spend the money
Yeah.
and then find out after you've expended that money that you really don't like it from an aesthetic point of view, because you have such a beautiful house, and I know you have gardens, and you've really put a lot of time and effort into your property.
folks have asked me to take them out not because of aesthetics, but because they weren't practical.
Well, right, but that's.
They would,
it's both.
they weren't safe, they weren't practical.
Right.
I would add one thing, and that is, we put in a significant amount of work in the backyard in the past 5 years. I personally have done it myself, and so extending the pavement would be ripping up about a 20 by 20 patio I built, a lot of vegetation that we planted, things like that. So I'm not saying that that's not an option. The reason why we had identified the front was it's obviously an area that our children are not playing for safety reasons, and thought that that was a reasonable option. And frankly, the companies that we spoke to had recommended that as a location, as another place. Again, I'm not saying that that's the only option. I appreciate the suggestions that you guys are offering.
Looking at the aerial view, I don't see it necessary to extend the driveway. I mean, as you pull in, you can, it's already existing there today. Pull in to the left and you can back out and, but you just said you always come off frontage, right?
Yes, correct.
Have you ever, just another option, thought of talking to your neighbor? There's another driveway right next to you. If you could share the first 50 feet or 30 feet of it, that you could then have a common driveway by eliminating the curb cut or just keeping it in place, but never using it here.
Well, they're very kind. They're here tonight. They're very kind, and we use their driveway often. They
Okay.
let us use the space. But I will say, even exiting their driveway, you have to be very thoughtfully looking here. Again, I think it comes down to what the visibility is.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah,
don't want to speak for our neighbors, but it is a challenge crossing the street there as well. But yes, they are very kind and do let us cross there. And again, as I stated, we cannot safely cross back without somebody on the other side of the street. Not that this is an issue with our property and what we're talking about tonight, but we do cross at 2 houses down. So my children, that's what they're used to safely cross. And children have been for forever.
We don't have a standalone bylaw for scenic roads, is that?
That is correct.
Correct,
We
so-
do not. And so the only real standard is whether or
The
not
statute,
the
right?
planning board is prepared to approve this. And my thinking is that I would like to approve it with an understanding that you will seriously consider the comments that have been made here today. Just rethink it. If you still wish to go forward, I don't know that any member of the planning board would say, no, we're going to prevent you from doing that. Because safety is a concern, and it's obviously a real serious concern with you. And I wouldn't want to personally stand in the way of you solving that concern. Where this stone wall is just kind of a one-off on the street. So it would be my suggestion that the planning board, and we'll have to vote on this, allow your request with the understanding that you will consult with the appropriate town authorities about the sightlines and see if you can come up with some type of an alternative solution, recognizing what Jonathan has said, that many people who have put these kinds of driveways in, particularly ones that don't really comport with the provision of the bylaw, have been removed because people are unhappy with them in the long run. Does anyone want to address what I just said?
Yeah, I can see people maybe using it as a U-turn to change directions.
Yeah.
They won't if there's a car in it. And again,
That's
the
true.
big point is as soon as there's one car in it,
Yeah.
it's blocked, it's useless.
Right.
And then you're backing out, and you cannot back out around a tight corner like that.
And you're actually gonna need more than 10 feet wide, just given the geometry of a car or a vehicle.
Yeah,
especially
it needs
one.
to be about 15 feet
It's
wide.
gonna be about 15 wide at the widest point.
So it's an enormous amount of asphalt
Lot
for
of asphalt.
very minimal return on investment.
Yeah. Right in front.
That's helpful to know, thank you.
With all respect to your paving contractor, I wouldn't rely on them for design.
I appreciate that.
As you go in this driveway to the back, you bear left, and there's a 2-car garage there?
3-car garage.
3-car?
Yep.
And there's, it looks on the plan like there's plenty of room as you're coming out of that garage to back this way and then head out the driveway, nose first.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's doable, but there's the sight line too.
Yeah.
But I'd find out whether that 200 plus feet is a violation of anything. Because that's a pretty good distance, actually.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, the 200-plus feet referring to what?
The sight line.
The sight line, thank
As
you.
you're exiting out onto Asbury Street from your driveway.
Yeah, thank you.
And I would look at adjacent vegetation, you know, is that, look at what is the limit of the sight line? What's causing it? There's usually some specific element. And often it's vegetation that people just aren't paying attention to. It doesn't bother them, so they're not even thinking about it. So,
That's a good point.
Please, and identify yourself at the podium.
Tim Whitman, and I'm 184 Esbury Street. I'm the adjacent property there. If we can just move that picture, can we see it? I hadn't thought of the vegetation as being the limitation there. Okay.
Mark, if you go back to street view, you could probably see a better view of that.
Say again?
I was asking Mark, if he goes back to street view, you have a better view of that site.
Yeah.
Okay.
and again, I'm speculating. I didn't stop and get out of the car and look at it, but usually that's what it is. And it's usually because people, it's not important to the people who have the vegetation. It doesn't affect them.
Other direction.
Try the other direction.
Other direction. There you go.
There, right there.
Tight turn.
Yeah, move forward a little bit. Yeah.
See, that's all overhanging vegetation and it doesn't mean you have to take any trees down. It just means, and your sight line it's way down here. You know, it's not up here, it's not down there, it's right here. So if you just ask for some branches at that height, you can open it right up. The same thing that's exactly what happens with my property. And all I have to do is take out a couple feet and I can see hundreds of feet further. Simple.
I just know that I cross over that 20 feet, 50 feet further up the street, going north on Asbury. And I actually have to stop and listen. I can see, I go up to there's a fence just off to the left-hand side there. And I go up to past that so I can see down Asbury Street, up North Asbury Street. And I actually listen to hear if I can hear. Yeah, see there? I go up almost to that telephone pole, and I listen to hear if I can hear a car coming, and because I can see all the way down to Cutler Road, Cutler School, if I go up that far. So I hadn't thought of, I hadn't looked at the vegetation as being an issue, but I'll take another look at it.
I think it's also a chronic issue for speeding right in that area as well, as we know.
Yeah, well, and particularly since the street was widened
Yeah.
a number of years ago. And that was one of the concerns at that time, was it was going to be so much wider and therefore people are going to go faster, which has happened. But anyway.
Hey, Stephen McWhorter, 18 Cunningham Drive. Hi, people. As far as this is, there's no vegetation issue here. The only thing you're gonna get is a pole, and you can't move that. And as far as finding out on the site distance, things like that, go to the police chief. They'll have all the accident records and things like that. They might even have measurements on cars that tried to stop and didn't do it successfully. And the real thing that the police chief is going to tell you, the biggest thing that slows those cars down is narrowing the road. So those lines, but they may have them as narrow as they can. But yeah, check with the police chief.
Thank you,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I think that I will entertain a motion to approve the request.
Marty, do we want to discuss the draft conditions of approval that the planning
absolutely.
director
Oh, absolutely.
mentioned?
Yes, yes. So if we are to approve it, we would approve it subject to the conditions that Mark has provided.
Read those draft conditions. If you have any issues, let me know. Prior to the start of work, the applicant shall obtain a street opening permit from the Department of Public Works. Number 2, disturbance to the existing stone wall shall be limited to only what is necessary to construct the driveway. All stones impacted by the work shall be relocated to other areas within the right-of-way boundary, but at least 4 feet from the edge of pavement with Asbury Street. Number 3, any future expansion of the driveway beyond what is outlined in the application materials shall require advance review and reapproval by the planning board.
I'll make a motion that we vote to approve the application of Megan and Tyler Swaim to disturb the stone wall at their property, subject to the conditions of approval that were just read into the record.
Second.
Second, okay. I'll take a roll call vote. Jonathan Poor,
Jonathan Poor, aye.
Bill Wheaton,
Abstain.
Emil Dahlquist,
I abstain at this stage.
Darcy Dale,
Darcy Dale, aye.
Matt Hamel,
Aye.
and Marnie Crouch, aye. So you have your approval. But given the 2 abstentions, there are serious issues that you should look at before you proceed. And one of them is to request the police department to enforce the speed limit on Asbury Street, because I live right off Asbury Street, and I can attest to the fact that the speed limit is routinely ignored, and it's routinely ignored by some really big trucks.
Okay.
Okay, so, on the matter of stone walls, not stone walls, excuse me, I'm jet-lagged, so I'm going to make all sorts of mistakes tonight. I just returned from Kyrgyzstan, so it's a 10-hour difference, so I'm not sure I know which end is up, because I don't know what time of day it is. But I did want to note that we do not have a scenic road bylaw, and that chapter 40, section 15C really has no specific standards as to how we are to assess alterations to scenic roads. And it seems to me that when we get to our discussion of implementation of the master plan and some other items that the planning board might look at, we might want to consider a scenic road bylaw. And we also may want to consider adding to the number of scenic roads that we have in town. And so it occurred to me that some of the scenic roads that exist in town that are not now designated are the Miles River Road and Woodbury Street. They might be ones that could be added to our list.
I believe Woodbury Street is a scenic road.
Yeah.
Is it? Asbury, Bridge Street, Chabago Road, Cutler, Garner, Goodhue, Highland, Miles River Road, I take that back, Moulton Street, Sagamore, Waldingfeld, Walnut, Winthrop, not Woodbury.
It used to be.
I remember when we were dealing with Gordon Conwell that some of the people said that they wished that
Bridge Street's on there too, right?
Bridge
Yes.
Street is on there, but
I mean, the purpose of the bylaw
there is no bylaw.
is actually scenery.
Bylaw.
It's scenery, or not bylaw. The purpose of the state law is scenery. It's not safety or a line of sight. That's the domain of the DPW and the police and so on. The objective of the law is scenery. And, you know, given that, the purview of the board should be, is this a very scenic road that somehow will become unscenic or lose its, you know, scenic beauty if the, you know, petitioner does whatever the petitioner wants to do. On Bridge Street, we thought that was absolutely true, but we didn't act fast enough. And, you know, I think it's debatable here whether this removal of the wall, which I think is they shouldn't do, but that's on different grounds than scenery. I don't think it will affect the scenery appreciably.
And that whole portion of Asbury
Right.
Before Highland is not, say, comparable to other streets in terms of scenery. It's a bit of a mixed bag, in other words. Parts of it are more scenic than others, but obviously Upper Asbury, which is much more rural in character, is, I think, what led to the denomination of Asbury as being a scenic road.
Right.
Okay, well, good luck with your project. Maybe you'll come up with an ideal solution that satisfies the abstaining members here.
And appreciate all your expertise as well. Thank you for providing that to us.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is a potential amendment of the master plan to include consideration of a dark sky bylaw. And Mark very thoughtfully provided us with sections of the bylaw that address lighting in town. And he also recommends that the town consolidate regulations governing exterior lighting into a single bylaw. So I think it's worth discussing whether we should amend our master plan to include consideration of a dark sky bylaw. And there is a committee, Ann Giroux and Kathy Simons are working hard to get public awareness of dark skies, and there are existing bylaws that we can look to for inspiration. So I'm throwing this open for discussion.
I first heard about the Dark Skies Initiative. It was called Sky Glow. That's what they called it back then in the mid-'80s, when Concord, Massachusetts, the Kabat-Zinn family in Concord were early adopters of this concept, dark skies. So it's not a new thing.
No, it is not.
It's something that's got some history to it. But Concord might have some dark sky bylaws that we could take a look at. They were the pioneers.
Well, I've told you all about the presentation that this Kelly Beatty made at the library this spring, and it is available on HWCam or YouTube.
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, it was for a general audience. I mean, obviously, people who are expertise in lighting, could have, received more sophisticated information, but for the general public, it was, no pun intended, illuminating. And so Chelmsford, at his behest, because he's a resident of Chelmsford and on the planning board, Chelmsford just adopted an outdoor lighting bylaw. And they're different, and why it needs to be studied is a lighting bylaw can be a general bylaw or it can be a zoning bylaw. It can address regulations that govern lighting of commercial enterprises and simply have guidelines for residential properties, or there can be regulations governing the entire town. So, Mark, were you able to include the Chelmsford bylaw in the package?
Yes.
So,
This is a part of the Chelmsford bylaw.
yeah. So, this is the one that Kelly Beatty, and he was a senior editor at a magazine dealing with what was it called? Sky and Telescope, thank you. I mean, I knew it was something to do, yeah, I couldn't come up with the words, but yeah, Sky and Telescope magazine. So he's immersed in this culture of dark skies. And so this is something that he put together. And of course, there are other ordinances to look at. And I know Kathy and Ann are trying to put some ideas together as well. So it isn't that I'm advocating that we adopt a dark skies bylaw this evening. I think what I'm suggesting is that we add it to the master plan as something that we should study and consider in the next year or so.
Well, there are two ways to deal with it. One is through regulation, the other is through guidelines. And
Or a combination.
or a combination, and because you could highlight what are the critical things, and this Kelly person, Beatty, identified the major issues, with glare and with trespass and so forth, and I think all that's good information and with some statistics on it, but when you get to the level of fixture types and all of that to me kind of falls in a category of guidelines. And because these change all the time. And I think it would be better maybe if we start to study it in some detail and then come up with maybe a good combination between regulations, which could be in the bylaws. Certainly in town center, we want to have it, but I think you're right. I think there should be a town-wide set of basic standards that apply everywhere, and then in specific areas that are commercial, you have specific regulations that address that location and can satisfy those requirements. But I think having the guidelines in a separate package would be a great idea for someone to go to town hall and pick up a copy or get it online or whatever, and when considering a project, but not necessarily put it all in a bylaw. Would be my first approach anyway on that, because I think
Maybe we could start with the guidelines, and then if there was lots of support, we could move at the next level to have some regulatory permit process with variances. I mean, there are going to be situations where, for safety reasons or something, you really do need more light than you would have with the guidelines. And so you need to have some way of reviewing that would allow exemptions under something. But rather than start with a really strong set of regulations like that, we start off with guidelines, see what people think, and everybody's happy with it. We say, well, maybe we'll move to the next step and actually have a bylaw which includes regulations.
Regulations would give it some teeth, and that's going to be needed. You're going to see a project that comes in that's just misses the boat completely, and you have to say, no, this is not going to be approved because bylaw X, Y, Z. And, whereas I think helping people understand what the problem is and getting developers to look at that and then being willing to, if you're given a choice in terms of streetlights, for example, most of them really don't care what streetlight they use, but the town cares. And there's more than one cutoff type of light, so I think our bylaws should, certainly at town center, have.
I mean, couldn't you do this by amending the zoning bylaw in some way and just sort of say all developments and, in these parts of town, with this amount of activity need to be compliant with the guidelines provided in the, by the planning board for dark sky.
Yeah.
That would be a pretty heavy stick. Then you'd say, well, we're not going to give you your special permit or whatever it is unless you abide by the guidelines without coming up with a whole separate bylaw.
The challenge is that the reason to do guidelines is because lighting is very technical, and it actually requires technical expertise to do. So like a developer could afford to pay somebody to do that, but like a homeowner would struggle with that.
Yeah.
So And to Emil's point, these things change constantly. It's really confusing to read the specs on them. It's very technical. And so you just need to be careful that it's not too onerous for example, for a homeowner.
Well, the bylaw in Chelmsford is mandatory over a period of time. It's not, there's a leeway,
It's 10 years, I think.
10 years, that businesses have to comply. So it's mandatory.
You said businesses or homeowners?
Businesses.
Businesses, that's different, yeah.
Homeowners are exempted, but guidelines are provided for homeowners. So it's not an onerous type of bylaw. It's not as if people have to replace their lighting fixtures the day after the bylaw is implemented. So there is, and this bylaw in Chelmsford is I think pretty even-handed, but say in Nantucket, that their dark sky bylaw applies to homeowners island-wide. So I think it's worth
Absolutely, yes.
exploring how we go approach it, because the bottom line here is that whatever we do, we want the town to support the effort. We don't want to impose something on them that they find too restrictive. They won't endorse it at town meeting. So if it's a general bylaw, you have to recognize that that's a 50% vote, whereas if it's a zoning bylaw, it's a 2/3 vote. So I know, Kathy, you are here. Would you like to say something about the extent of your efforts so far?
I'm Kathy Simons, 245 Sagamore Street. And I have been meeting with a couple of other residents in Hamilton who are concerned about light pollution and in preserving the rural character of the town. I think that light pollution is a relatively small and doable issue here in Hamilton, but it's in the context of a very critical, large-scale environmental issue. It's not just nuisance, although a lot of us have encountered nuisance from neighbors' spotlights shining directly into our bedrooms, or nuisance from glare on the road caused by lights downtown, pole lights downtown. But it's also, the environmental issue has to do with the fact that lighting, electrification is only 125 years old, and the world has evolved in a cycle of light and dark, and everything is synced with that cycle, including pollinators, including migratory birds, including the seasonal springing of leaves in the spring and dropping of leaves in the fall. So I think it's rather like discovering that we can't dump in the ocean. We can't just willy-nilly light up the sky, lose access to the beauty of the night sky for ourselves and future generations, but also imperil pollinators and wildlife in a town that is about 70% conservation land. So I think this is an opportunity for Hamilton to be a model and a leader and protect its own, very much in keeping with the long-range plan, that it's preserve and protect the rural nature of our town. Other towns that have done it: Maynard, Chelmsford, Rockport, Rowley, Nantucket. The state of Maine has regulations. Massachusetts regulations have passed the state legislature in both houses and are going into reconciliation, and will have to do with municipal expenditures. My understanding about why a general bylaw is that a zoning bylaw would not apply to municipal buildings. Is that correct?
that may be correct.
Well,
I-
federal buildings, I know it can't, but
I had thought municipal buildings might not be covered. And I think there are
Something like town
decisions to
hall.
be made about who does get covered. I think Chelmsford, in fact, covers residential but not municipal. Some towns cover municipal but not residential. There are a lot of decisions to be made once you get into it. The technology piece, the technical piece, I think we're all really leery of anything that is too technical to be understood or easily applied. The fundamentals of the bylaws in various towns have to do with shielding. Shielding is just a no-brainer. Talking to the chief of police and other officers in town that they're very much in favor of shielding, even though light is very much the police officer's friend. Too much light is also a problem, and shielding is very beneficial. So you can have a regulation that has to do with your light has to be shielded to prevent sky glow, as Darcy said, and to also prevent glare and light trespass into your neighbor's bedroom window. But it also, the model bylaw from Dark Sky, Massachusetts, or Dark Sky, US, would also address color and intensity. And of course, there are exemptions for safety and security. And you don't have to include, you can determine in discussions, this is a big study, what fits Hamilton the best. But you can have exemptions, you can have a phase-in period, you can make some of it regulatory and others recommendations. But I think my question to you would be, if it's only recommendations, is it going to have an impact on developers? We're seeing new buildings going up with really poorly designed lighting, excessive lighting. Lighting is becoming something of a design feature on the facade of buildings. It's good to have some consistency. We've talked to business owners in town who are not opposed to lights out an hour after closing time, except for some safety and security lighting. It seems to me that there's a lot, as we've been talking with stakeholders in town, and we've only begun, there's a lot of already buy-in. So that's what I would.
I know with respect to Chelmsford, I may have exaggerated. The bylaw applies to single and two-family residential dwellings and ADUs and individually owned dwellings that are part of a condominium complex or homeowners association, but not just single-family homes.
Right.
And those are governed by guidelines. So
And not businesses, Marty?
businesses are covered by regulations, but for residents, it's part of a condominium complex.
Maynard's bylaw, which is fairly recent, includes municipal and schools and commercial and industrial and residential.
Yeah. So there's a whole panoply of choices to
Exactly.
make. And so the idea is to get started and put it on the agenda. It's putting it on, making it part of the master plan so that we can move forward with it. I think that's something that's really important. And as an aside, and since we all know I was in Kyrgyzstan, one of the incredible things about Kyrgyzstan are their dark skies. But some of the development that we saw along Lake Issyk-Kul were streetlights that were, I'm only guessing, maybe 30 feet tall in the shape of candelabras, shooting, light right up into the sky. And I mean, when we went there, the night sky was what it must have been like when the Greeks looked up. And there you have development. So I think to Kathy's point, it's not just about the light that affects people, it's the light that affects the pollinators and the other creatures that we share this planet with. So I don't know how you feel, let's put it on the master plan. It's not a done deal until we have some type of bylaw. We'll have discussions about it down the road, and I'm sure Kathy and Ann will have a lot to say about it. But my goal here is to just put it on our radar, put it in the master plan, and we can get to work on it in the next year or two.
No, I think it's a good idea.
I do too. Yes.
Good, good. So I'll entertain a vote to amend the town's master plan to include,
When you say that, what exactly do you mean, amend the master plan?
well, right now, the master plan does not have any,
Right. But I'm wondering whether you want to do that in an appendix, start a whole list of things that are additions to the master plan.
oh, sure, we can do that.
As opposed to changing the language of the steering committee and the consultant. I'm a little hesitant to do that, but I think we can add topics, obviously.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Because it should be a dynamic, but how we do it, I think, is going to be important.
Oh, right, so I would have to, when I thought about amending the master plan, I was thinking about implementing a dark sky bylaw. So we have looking ahead, that's section 4 of our master plan.
So you would add action steps.
I would add it as an action item.
Okay, you're not talking about filling in the general body of the document.
Oh, no. I would just
Yeah, okay.
add it as an action item under, say, 4.2.1, protect,
Yeah,
and probably, we could identify a leader, partners,
yeah.
and perhaps if everybody likes this idea, then I can look into how we could actually add it to one of these charts and put that in the same format. So in other words, if we like the idea, I'll put it in the format of protect. Well, I think that's probably where is a logical place for it to go.
Yeah.
And I will set it up in such a way that it will mirror the existing items.
Are you
And
still looking for a motion?
Actually, I take that back.
Okay.
I will wait until the next, what I think we have is consensus, so I'll try and put it into the context of the chart itself and have the same format, the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns, and then we can vote on that
And-
at the next meeting.
By what mechanism do we have to get that approved as part of the master plan?
The planning board can amend the master plan at any time.
Okay.
We don't have to ask anybody's permission. The master plan is a product of the planning board.
The other question I had, do you want to keep the original document intact, but put it in an appendix item? And I'm curious whether anybody.
Yeah, I like that idea, almost like a wish list. And then you could turn the wish list into action items.
This would be
But
one
But
of
do it only
could
once
sta-
every couple of years or something.
Well, what you could, if it was an appendix, you could just keep adding to it, and you don't have to reformat anything. I agree with Emil. You don't want to go down a rabbit hole of having to reformat every time you have a good idea. What you want to do is you want to have basically an appendix that you can. It's just a live document that you can keep adding to,
Yeah,
but it lives independently format-wise.
Right.
And
Right,
you can
but it
refer
should-
to it, maybe you refer to it once in here, and you say, see appendix for additional action items.
Right.
Or desired action items, or
Right.
possible action items,
Right.
and you can rank them any way you want. But you keep it as a live document that doesn't interfere with the formatting of this document, so
Right.
that it's easy
Well,
to do.
I'm just saying the appendix would still mirror what's there.
Yeah, good.
I mean, the
Yeah,
appendix
you
would
could do
still
that.
have
Sure,
the
you could have the same
columns.
format, but it doesn't get into shuffling this document.
Right, right.
Because then the next idea will shuffle it more, and then so on and so
Well,
forth.
yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, some of the action items we've already accomplished.
Mhm.
So I don't think we want to start going down the path of deleting things in the
No,
master
no.
plan because we've completed them.
Yep.
But we can certainly add to them. I don't know if adopting a scenic road bylaw would be something that we should consider or not. That's, I think, less critical.
I would be curious what other towns have done with that, and what some objective criteria would be, and what we have jurisdiction over, and what can we turn down an application, others, and on what basis, and is that appealable? There's so many pieces to that that are not resolved.
Yeah, and I think that Bill raised the critical point, is it's a scenic road bylaw, or scenic road statute, and they sometimes have scenic road bylaws, but no offense to the people that were here, but that portion of Asbury Street is far from scenic.
Yeah, it's suburban.
Well, but it,
I understand, yes. So, but then even if it was scenic, what's our jurisdiction, and what can we,
well, the state
can we
statute,
approve, what can we not approve?
The state statute gives us the authority, it actually mandates that the planning board is the body that approves changes that affect scenic roads. It's on us. But there are no standards to that.
so then.
Right, but
how
you
do
got to
make
be
that
careful,
appealable?
because you wouldn't want to reject an application because of something that had nothing to do with scenery, because then they could take you to court and say, look, the planning board was acting outside of its purview,
Right.
which is, the bylaw says we're in charge of overseeing scenery.
It's not objective, doesn't have enough standards to it.
Right. Okay, so I will try and put something in writing so that we can actually then amend the master plan. I'll try and do that for the next meeting.
Then we need a motion for that, not a motion tonight, to
Yeah, not a
let you,
motion
to
tonight.
let you get to work. Let's put it
Yeah,
that way.
yeah. But, I mean, everybody's in favor of doing it, it's just how it's done. And then I'll do the language. I'll add an action item. And whether it actually gets to fruition is, I think, going to depend in large part on Ann and Kathy. And they've met with a lot of people. And I think it does make sense to kind of consolidate everything in one bylaw instead of having things sprinkled all over. But in the bylaw for Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary, we did include some pretty stringent lighting provisions. So it's not like we've shied away from doing that on occasion, so. All right. Okay. This was something that Emil put together, our priorities, because we have to implement the master plan, that's our job. So Emil, in an email to Mark, noted the following, and I'll read them in the order that he put them. So, revisiting the existing open space, farmland and estate preservation development bylaw, and the GPOD. So the open space, farmland, whatever the 8.1, and then the state overlay district is 9 point something. But anyhow, we sort of went ahead and have drafted a consolidation of those, of the open space bylaw and the estate overlay district bylaw. So that's 9.4, into an open space farmland and estate preservation development bylaw. And so that's in the works. And then we've also toyed around with some language with respect to the GPOD, but we haven't finalized that. Then we just talked about the dark sky bylaw. We have the small clean energy infrastructure and facility siting and permitting regulations. I don't know what the status of that is, and I almost don't want to know. ADU design guidelines, town center guidelines, and public space standards, and that in part will depend on the status of our one-stop grant. And then also, actually, and then design guidelines for the form-based code, but again, that might depend on the grant. And then I also, something that Emil forgot, is I really do want to amend Section 11, the definitions, because our zoning bylaw has a mishmash of definitions all over the place, and it's easy to get lost in the morass of those definitions. And then I did add scenic roads, but I'm a little hesitant.
So is the proposal of definitions to consolidate them into one section rather than having them sprinkled?
Well, they're all in one Section 11 now, but they really should be in alphabetical order, but sometimes there'll be, well, I know for the,
Are they still, so they're still in subgroups of?
sometimes there's
Yeah,
some.
that makes no
yeah,
sense.
So,
Yeah, it makes no sense.
yeah, so I know for the, bear with me, it's I'm a little bit, the affordable, the inclusionary housing bylaw. So all the definitions pertinent to inclusionary housing were under inclusionary housing. They should all the definitions should be alphabetical.
Yes.
And then at the end, there should be a list, a chart where the definitions appear in the bylaws. So whatever that definition may be.
That sounds like an ambitious task.
Well, it's.
I guess you can do a key.
ChatGPT.
You could do a keyword search with.
Yeah, you could do it.
Okay.
But chat, you
I
can
take it back.
already do that. You can do
I don't
it.
want to do it, but I take it back.
You can do it. You can do a keyword search already in our bylaw.
Yep.
So, when you have these definitions, you can do the keyword search where it appears. But I bet you any money, ChatGPT will do that for you.
And maybe incorrectly.
I know.
But,
They
but
hallucinate.
it can also do things correctly.
Yes, sometimes.
You just have to double check it. But
Well, do it yourself.
my husband's become a real convert to ChatGPT, by the way. And really. I
You
mean,
can do it incorrectly in only 2 seconds.
Yes, exactly.
So fast.
well, I have to
correctly
say
until
though,
it
we
doesn't,
put,
yeah.
we put up an obelisk, and it wouldn't go together because of the, just the minor imperfections in how the bolts and all were. And Mike called the owner of the company, and the owner of the company was going to send him a whole new top piece for this obelisk. And he consulted ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said, loosen all the bolts, put it in your garage and let it sit, and then rotate the top 180 degrees. And you know what? It worked like a charm. And he called up the owner of the company, who was going to lose money sending parts he didn't have to send, and told him, this is how to make it work. So yes, ChatGPT can sometimes be wrong, but doing lists like this, it would probably do it easily enough. Just, you could tell it to put all the definitions in alphabetical order.
AI is like any other tool, garbage in, garbage out. If you use it smartly, it'll be very useful for you.
Right. Are you good with ChatGPT?
I'm fairly good with AI.
Careful how you answer
yeah.
that.
It's my line of business, so yeah.
Could you try putting the definition, section 11 in alphabetical order and then
Yeah.
give it a shot, see what it does? I mean, you just have to tell it the job, right?
Do you need a Word document to do that then?
I can do it in any format you want, yeah.
So you would just need the latest version of the zoning bylaw, and you would tell ChatGPT to put the definitions in alphabetical order, and then to create a chart that indicates where the definitions appear in the zoning bylaw, under what sections.
Sections, yeah.
That should be really easy.
Yeah.
That should be really
Yeah.
easy.
Okay.
Easy.
Yeah, and maybe it'll be great. Could be wrong, but I mean, even if it's 3/4 correct, it still saves a lot of time. Okay, so, any discussion about where we stand? I think the ADU design guidelines would be helpful to get started on them. Have we had many ADU, has the building inspector gotten any ADU?
There were a bunch last year. There were 8, I think. I don't know about this year.
8 last year?
Yep, when the new requirements came out.
Yeah, by right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're not seeing them, so,
Yeah, they're going straight to building department. Yep.
yeah.
I sent around an article from the Times that had some outrageous and interesting ADU proposals. I can't remember in what cities, but it really made very entertaining reading. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't recall, Mark, when the Commonwealth is going to make its decision on the grant applications. Do you recall?
I think they said September.
Oh, so we may know by the end of the summer whether we're successful or not.
Yes.
And then, did UTIL ever comment on the flow chart and your, I mean, there was the flow chart that Emil, I think you prepared this, am I correct?
Yes. Right.
His flow chart, and also your materials, kind of a checklist, right?
Mark
Yes.
did the check.
Yeah,
Yep.
the checklist. Did they ever comment on that?
They gave some, not like a formal document, but they gave some comments in an email. I can add it to the site to discuss in the next meeting. But they didn't do like a formal sort of revision to the document or anything like that.
So I didn't review the town center code. Does it have a provision? I hope it does. I think that we talked about this, that the planning board could issue regulations to implement the town center code. Or does it have
I
a provision?
believe so. Design guidelines, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but like, we could require something like your checklist, because that certainly is helpful for the planning board, that we have all the information that we need.
Yep. Yeah, I could check right now, but I'm almost positive.
Do you all recall seeing Mark's checklist?
Not offhand.
No.
No? So anyhow, maybe,
It's a duplication of the code essentially, and I think you went down reading the code and just made a list of the things
Yeah.
that were highlighted.
And it's a work in progress, because there's big projects, and there's like the single-family owners that,
I think what would be kind of neat is to do, like a single page for each district that has all the requirements of that particular district. And then you can fill in the blank when you're comparing it with, I can work on something that like that with you, but, so you have the project with the various metrics that have to be determined in measuring, because that's what it is. It's interpreting the dimensional standards and then the site standards. It all comes down to that. And then they had their chart, which would be pretty easy to replicate. And then you could have whatever that district requires for that particular topic. And then right next to it could be a blank column that lists how you read the application and what those numbers are. So it'd be a good way to tally it and keep everything in a format so that you could save it, use it, distribute it.
Yeah, lots of room for improvement, but for the next meeting, I can circulate that checklist.
I think
discuss.
that would be helpful to get to work on that checklist so that when we have another project, we don't have to be scrambling for more information. And I certainly think that this flow chart is something that also could be incorporated into the.
It could be embellished a little bit, but it was a beginning. I thought they would pick up on that and do something really neat, but
No,
nope.
no, but anyhow, this is still good information for
Yeah,
people
it
to
is.
have.
It is.
It really is.
Take
So-
some of the mystery out of it a little.
Yeah, and together with a checklist,
Yeah.
it's a start. It's not a design guideline, it's not the end-all to be-all, but it's certainly better than having nothing. And,
On Util's presentation, I noticed in the last, I think it was the last page for your final, they had nonconformity language, town center. I'm not sure what they're trying to get at here, Mark, but it's the last page.
Was it the really complicated version from another town,
Well, that
Dedham or
was from
something?
Melrose, and, no, that was just, I never even looked at it because that was.
Yeah, his purpose was to dissuade us from going
Yeah,
too deep.
same.
You could be here.
Algorithms that you need to follow.
Yes.
It's just too complicated. Yeah, this is the one. So I read that, and, the key part, family, so that's a dwelling. And the language just is exactly what he had in the code. Change under family, second paragraph. Change would increase the non-conforming nature of the structure or create a new non-conformity unless a special permit is granted by the planning board upon a finding that such modification or alteration. That's exactly what he had written, so I'm not sure what we're supposed to do with this information. It's not new information. And then all other structures, again, that was the issue with the Willow Street project. A primary or accessory nonconforming structure should not be enlarged or altered in a way which increases its nonconformity or creates a new nonconformity. I'm not sure what he was getting at. Do you, Mark, have any idea what?
No, I could certainly follow up with them. And
Exactly the way he had it written in the code.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Anyway, I guess.
The one thing they said they would address, but I don't know how and when they would address it, was my question about, I forget what section it's in, but it had something to do with unenclosed porches less than 8 feet not contributing to floor area or something like that. But then it didn't say, well, what happens if it's greater than 8 feet? And I've got the wording wrong, but I forget what section it was in, and they said, yeah, that's not very clear.
KP Law has an assessment of that.
Oh, okay.
You can extend the use, but if the extension increases the nonconformity only in 3 ways, having to do with shape, frontage, or lot or floor area, then you can't extend it. But you're sort of given an infinite nonconformity of use. But you can't increase its nonconformity in those 3 dimensions.
Yeah. Yes.
I think what you're discussing, Bill, is the legislature made some changes to the law on non-conforming.
Right, it's in
residential.
the KP summary here, right?
Yeah. But that's brand new. That was just passed in the budget
Right.
a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that thing, when that came out, I was reading that, and there are gonna be some conflicts with our codes.
Yeah.
With KP Road, this is not final, I guess, or I think some of it's final, and some of it is being mandated now, but some of it is going to the state legislature.
I think it's been signed by the governor, so I think it's final. It's just, we're still trying to figure out what the
Yeah.
repercussions are.
Well, the real repercussions are with variances, because the whole standard has changed.
Yeah.
And that hardship with respect to soil, topography, and all of that, that's no longer the case, and
Yeah.
it's now practical difficulties, and
Yeah.
good luck to the ZBA, I mean.
Yeah.
But the one thing that we can take some comfort in is that in the town center code, there is no mention of variances. So if you remember with the Willow Street project, we denied it, but the homeowners could have sought a variance, but that wouldn't have involved the planning board. So at least the town center code, it seems to me, is immunized from this new law. But certainly, the zoning bylaw will have to be changed to recognize this the new provisions with respect to variances. So the changes to Chapter 40A, Section 6 are the most significant, I think. And some of the other provisions about extensions and this, that, and the other, I think some were not even mandatory. I think they're less drastic, I think, than this whole new law governing variances. And I don't know if this economic development bill could further muddy the waters, but that hasn't been signed yet. So I don't know whether the next step for KP Law is to look at our zoning bylaw and make recommendations to how we should comply with the law, or whether or not we should just sit pretty and hope that nothing comes before us or the ZBA until the Commonwealth itself issues some guidance as to how this new law governing variances should be applied.
I don't know I would count on the state to do that, just because they passed this on an emergency basis, so it took effect immediately, which is
Right, that's
just kind of crazy, because people have, in other towns, submitted variance applications under the old criteria, and then I've talked to some planners, like, do we evaluate the application under the new or the old criteria? And it really created a lot of, like, we're scrambling now, we have to update the applications for the zoning board and educate the zoning board on what the changes mean. KP will be at the next zoning board meeting to
right.
sort of go over that, but
So if the application precedes the effective date of the law, it seems to me, under this new law, there's protection for that.
yeah.
What I read.
I just
I mean,
don't,
there's no provision in the law that says it applies retroactively to applications that are pending.
yeah. I just don't understand why they didn't have it apply 6 months later, so that towns have a
Right.
little bit of time to, prepare for it, but I'm not making these decisions, obviously.
But I think the ZBA is really going to be hard pressed.
Fortunately, we don't have any pending variance applications, so we'll have to make some quick changes, but it's not going to affect anything in the pipeline right now.
So we have passed a town zoning ordinance for the seminary, which specifies in great detail what can and can't be done. And it looks like the economic development bill might allow those guys to buy the apartments and do all of this by right.
Residential,
Residential, yeah.
right.
And to our best intentions may have effectively have been thwarted by the state in the sense that, I don't know, if anybody wants to do any multifamily development up there, they can buy up those buildings and do all of that just by right. They don't need to, you know, submit a plan to you by right.
It looks like that's where they're headed.
It looks like they're usurping local planning boards.
Well, that
That's what it looks like to
hasn't,
me.
that hasn't been enacted yet, so.
Yeah,
It's an
I think
attempt.
that'll be contested, but I don't know.
I looked at that whole thing not as an economic development bill, but as a housing bill. And almost everything had to do with housing. That was,
It's all about the donors.
but yes, they would render much of that work that we did useless, override it.
All that work.
Although it hasn't passed yet, so,
I understand that. I understand that.
Okay, Mark, I just have one last question.
Sure.
On the KP Law paper, page number 3. First highlighted paragraph. Increases to maximum periods of variance, duration, and extensions.
yep.
Budget bill extends from 1 to 2 years. The period of a variance is valid and excludes two things: the time necessary to pursue other entitlements to construct the project, and 2, the time to await the determination of an appeal. Is there something missing in there? Just the period of a variance is valid. I didn't realize there was a period after, say, the ZBA grants a variance that you have to wait. It's a waiting period?
I think this isn't a waiting period. I think it's how long the permit lasts.
Right.
Yeah, so once you're,
It has a,
It has a
Has a
time, it has
lifespan.
time fuse on it. If you don't use it, it expires.
That's what
yeah,
it is.
so you have to,
if it's not used.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
you have to activate that variance
Yes.
somehow, so pull a building permit or.
Makes sense.
Yes. And once you
Building,
build it-
building permits have that. You got to dig the ground within a certain period of time, where the building
Used to be
permit
1 year.
expires.
Most permits do Concom permits.
It's very common,
you know,
very common.
Yeah. But then once you get it rolling, it can drag out for years.
So it was 1 year, they changed it to 2 years.
Yeah.
And,
I guess the question I have is if Section 5 of our zoning bylaw has to be rewritten, even though we don't deal with variances, are we responsible for drafting the language of an amended Section 5 for submission to the town as a warrant article?
it's part of the zoning bylaw, so I think, yes, the planning board would have to, if necessary, propose an amendment.
Right, so even though we don't deal with variances, we're going to have to, how about the ZBA and redraft the language of Section 5 to comport with the new version of Chapter 40A, Section 6?
Mhm.
And Section 6 has almost, the existing language has basically been rescinded, and there's new language in its place, except for the first paragraph. So, yeah, there's a lot to unpack here.
So the old variance didn't have the term practical hardship in it.
No.
And that's like a gap that you
Yeah.
could drive, you know, a semi through.
Yeah.
You think?
Kind of irresponsible.
You know, what does that mean even? And then they include financial hardship. Financial hardship didn't used to be part of it either.
There's always,
Well, sometimes the land
that's like a
creates-
given. There's always, why do you need a variance? It's financial
Well, it was
hardship.
always soil, shape, and topography.
Yeah.
You know,
It
shaped
says-
it a lot.
The land.
In making its
Yeah.
determination. the
It's what you
permit
inherited
granting-
rather than, you know, what your financial abilities are.
Yeah.
You know, what the property hands you.
Yeah.
Here, let me read this language, and you see how difficult this is. In making its determination, the permit granting authority shall weigh the benefits to the appellant or petitioner and to the public interest, including the interest in supporting the production of housing against the detriment to the public health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood.
is so bizarre.
And may also consider whether the practical difficulty relates to soil conditions, shape, or topography of such land or structures, whether the strict enforcement would impose a financial hardship on the appellant or petitioner, whether the benefits sought by the appellant or petitioner can be achieved by some other method feasible for the appellant or petitioner to achieve, that's called second guessing, and whether the practical difficulty was self-created. What does that mean? And why would you ever want to, ignore topography and soil conditions? Because if the soil's bad, the whole project could slide off into oblivion. I mean,
Not very thoughtful.
Well, no, soil shape and topography has always been there historically, and so if you have, it just means like if you have bad soils on one side of the lot, they'll let you break the setbacks on the other side because you didn't create that that soil condition or that shape of that lot. It's just to show, it's literally the hardship of the nature of the lot rather than financial or decision-making burdens.
Well,
But anyway, I don't know how you would enforce these new
Implement it.
provisions.
Yeah, with any regularity.
Yeah, it seems like it needs more specificity or case law.
Case law. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the ticket.
You're not going to come up with all possibilities in statute. You're going to mull these over for a couple of years and look at some cases, and then people will better understand what that means.
practical difficulties.
So it'd be interesting
Anyhow.
to see what other towns are doing with this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's kind of in the same boat because I hadn't even heard about variance reform. There's been talk about other things, but I had no idea this was being contemplated. I think what we're planning to do, the zoning board is going to make some quick changes based on the variance changes. We're going to see what happens in the economic development bill. I'm expecting there's going to be some planning things in there. And then we can invite Robin or Amy to come talk to us if any changes we need to make.
Marty, can I make a motion to adjourn?
absolutely, you can.
I so do.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.